Welcome back to another edition of my Thursday Night Lives. I am Gino D'Angelo, a local Northern Michigan real estate agent. I am joined in the studio tonight with my son, Gino D'Angelo, the fifth. A lot of you know him as Genie. So, Gino, say hi to everyone.
Hello.
Gino had a snow day today, and we've been wanting to get him into the studio to do a live with us to talk a little bit more about what it's like to be a kid in Northern Michigan, because I know a lot of you who are watching are interested in a lot of different perspectives. Maybe you're going to retire here. Maybe you're moving here with your family and you're wondering what it's like for a kid to grow up in Northern Michigan. So I thought it'd be really useful for Gino to give you the perspective of what it's like to live in Northern Michigan as a kid. But before we get started, my sister, his aunt, just said, hi, nephew. So do you want to say hi to Aunt Christine back?
Hi, Christine.
So thank you for watching. If you're tuning in, I know a lot of you come back every week. Just drop a comment. Let me know where you're from. I like to know where we're reaching, where we're seeing people. We actually got a lot of great information tonight. We're going to talk about what you need to know if you're thinking about retiring in Northern Michigan. I actually got a call earlier today from a website called Bridge Michigan, who had stumbled upon my YouTube channel and wanted me to talk about they actually had some questions because they're seeing some data right now. This is really interesting. They're seeing some data right now that's actually surprising them, and they wanted to talk to somebody, such as myself, which I'm extremely humbled that they want my opinion about what's actually going on in terms of people coming here, leaving here. And I think he told me the census data is going to be released in the middle of January, and I think the numbers are going to shock you. And I'm actually already preparing for my first video around that. I'm actually going to have, his name is Michael. It's interesting because he works for Bridge Michigan, but he actually lives in Ohio, Toledo, Ohio. So he's got a lot of ties to the area, and he was extremely interested in this region and what's happening as far as, from a migration standpoint. We're going to talk about what's going on with the weather. I was out today filming some content, so I've got a video I want to show you in case you're wondering just how much snow Petoskey has right now. And also, I want this to be interactive. Make sure if you're watching, you have a question, big, small, little. Feel free to drop the question. We'll be happy to answer it. Also, if you're watching this live, great. I know a lot of you watch the replay. Once these are done, they go and live on to YouTube forever. So one day, maybe at Jeannie's graduation, we're going to bring this video back up and show the first time that he was on the YouTube live. So I'm going to ask him a couple questions in a minute. I always joke that one day, since him and I have the same name and the name of my brokerage is the Gino D'Angelo Group, that one day I'm going to get out of this chair and sign off, and he's going to sit down, and nobody's going to know that anything is any different. So a couple of questions from a kid's perspective. Jeannie, what do you like about living in Petoskey?
I like the nature and a lot of the snow and all the stuff this town has to do.
What's your favorite thing to do? Let's talk about different seasons. What's your favorite thing to do in the winter?
Probably skiing.
Can I ask you one controversial, hard-hitting question? What do you like better, Boyne Highlands or Nubs Knob?
Boyne Highlands. Nubs is not even comparable.
What do you like about Boyne? I know this is something we talk about a lot. What do you like about the Boyne versus Nubs debate?
I'm going to get a lot of hate from this, but Boyne is just better.
So are you saying you don't like curly fries?
Their curly fries are weird. They're not good.
You go to St. Francis, which is a private Catholic school downtown, just across the street here. What do you like about your school?
Probably the good education.
What's your favorite subject?
Probably social studies.
If anybody knows you, not specifically this time of year, but they know that you're a fisherman. Where's your favorite place to fish? Not the secret one you can't tell anybody about, but where's your favorite place to fish? And what's your favorite type of fish to catch?
Oh, that's hard. Probably on Lake Michigan, catch lake trout.
We did so Jeannie is a big fisherman. I like to fish with him. I'm not much of a fisherman outside of that, but we've taken a couple of charters. And what was the charter we took on Lake Michigan?
Shout out to them, Plumber's Helper.
Shout out to Plumber's Helper, Jason Swan, and I forget the captain's name. Do you remember?
I don't know.
If you look up Plumber's Helper, they're right in the Marina District of Bay Harbor, and they do a good job. It's probably one of the more popular charters around. So If you're a parent who was thinking about relocating to Petoskey and you had kids, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
Probably pick where you live wisely.
Yeah. So you live pretty close to downtown. Do you like living close to downtown, or do you wish you lived in the country more?
I mean, I would live in the country a little bit more, but I like where I live.
That's good. So I don't want to give your address because I don't need people randomly showing up to see you. But anything else you want to tell the population out there about what it's like? You grew up here. You've lived in Petoskey just about your whole life. Anything else you'd like to? Let me ask you this: what is your favorite restaurant in Petoskey?
Probably Pour. It's really good. They have really good sushi on Tuesdays.
All right, Pour sushi on Tuesdays. Leave us a comment if you want to join us, and maybe we'll drop you an invitation. So, anything else you'd like to say to the public before we get into it?
No.
Are the Lions going to beat the Bills this week?
Yes.
Okay, so you heard it here first. Bet the house the Lions are going to beat the Bills this week. So before we get into this, I've had a lot of people reach out to me today and just sign different calls about what the weather is like in Petoskey right now. So I took this video earlier for an Instagram reel, and this is what we're dealing with right now. So this is just in front of our office, and we have a tremendous amount of snow. So this really all happened last night. So after having really no snow last winter, and even the winter before was a little bit light, this winter has come in full force, and it kind of almost did what it did last year, where it snowed really hard and then it got warm, like in the 40s for 3 days, and we lost a lot of our snow. So then yesterday we got another snowstorm. Every school in northern Michigan was closed. Jeannie's here to hope that tomorrow there's also a snow day. So let's see how that goes. So, all right. As always, this is a interactive conversation. If you have any questions about what we're going over, if you have anything you'd like to know about what's going on in northern Michigan, please drop a comment. Also, whether you're watching this live or the recording, let me know where you're from. The channel, when we look at the analytics, people are watching from all over the place, and it's really interesting to see how far this is reaching. So yes, today was a snow day. Tomorrow, there is a website that has a predictor for snow days, and it says there's a 54% chance. So Traverse City, that is Corbin weighing in. I think that's either Corbin or Amber watching you from Traverse City. So you want to say
shout out to them.
Say hi to anything you want to say to Corbin if he's watching you live.
Shout out to Grandma Joan and Gary.
Okay, I don't think they're watching, but maybe they'll watch They should. So, all right, let's get into it. I've got some slides I want to share with you. So we get a lot of questions about what it's like to retire in northern Michigan. So I figured we'd do a little bit of this on the live today because we've done some long form video. We've done some of our normal videos about what it's like to retire within other videos, but I want to speak a little bit on this tonight because I do get a lot of questions about, what is it like to live in northern Michigan? What's it like to retire in northern Michigan? Is this a good place to retire? Whether you're relocating here full time or relocating here with your family or relocating here to retire, there's different things, different things have different priority to you. So obviously if you want to retire in an area, healthcare is probably a priority to you. Staying active might be a priority to you. So Edward McDonough just weighed in. He is born in Ionia, grew up in Kalamazoo, raised family in Novi, moved to Sewanee, Georgia for my final job before retirement. Thank you so much, Edward, for watching. It sounds like you've lived in a lot of places, and I really appreciate you watching. So let's get into the first slide. One of the downsides of retiring in northern Michigan, we like to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the positives, the not positives. We do not have a lot of public transit here. Now, if you go over to Traverse City, they do have the beta buses. They do a great job with that. That is a giant operation here. But in the Petoskey, Harbor Springs, Charlevoix, Boyne, even Gaylord, we don't have a ton of public transportation. We do have Straits Area Ride, which is very limited. So that is one of the downsides is there's not a lot of public transit here. There's no Uber. One of the benefits of whether this is one thing that goes across the board, whether you want to retire here, whether you want to live here full time. The 4 seasons are one of the reasons. If I polled every single person that calls me about relocating here and asked, what is causing you to consider Northern Michigan as your final destination or a destination you're going to relocate to, just that we have 4 seasons. A lot of people are coming from Florida or Texas, and they don't have the 4 seasons we do. So we have obviously spring, summer, fall, and winter. We're in the dead thick, the dog days, not the dog days of summer, dog days of winter, because I believe that December is one of the best months in Northern Michigan. We just started to get snow, so it's all new. It's pretty. You got the holidays. Everybody's houses are decked out for the holidays. Everybody's downtown after all the downtowns are decorated. The ski hills are just open. I just talked to somebody that is pretty high up at Boyne Highlands right before I hopped on here, and they're ready to open full force tomorrow. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. What I've learned about retirees as well as younger people, that pickleball is, whether you like it, you hate it. I personally like pickleball. I think it's a great sport. I think there's no sport in the world that has a level playing field quite the way pickleball does, because I've played pickleball with people that are much, much older than me, and they are way better than I am. So pickleball is definitely popular, and there are no shortage of places to play pickleball in Northern Michigan. Just in Petoskey, I know 3 or 4 places. They've got the college, they've got Riverbend Park, they've got another park, they've got the Bay Harbor Yacht Club, the college. There's 4 or 5 places just in Petoskey. You go over to Traverse City, and they've got big, somebody bought like an old grocery store there and turned it into a facility to play pickleball. And when I drive past there and at night and it's lit up, you can see tons of people playing pickleball inside, which is really good. Galen's got a lot of pickleball. Boyne City, Charlottesville, even East Jordan, some of the smaller communities have good pickleball opportunities. And go back to that, not just pickleball. There are plenty of ways to stay busy when a lot of people that I know who have called me about retiring in Northern Michigan are doing so to remain active. And between pickleball, the wheelway, the Little Traverse Wheelway, which spans from Harbor Springs, Petoskey to Charlevoix, it's 40 miles each way. And I used to love to ride my bike along the wheelway, and you'd see people pushing strollers. You see people jogging, walking, and it's actually almost, I love to road bike, and that's something that you want to do very quickly. You want to ride your bike fast. That's sort of the appeal of it. And there are times when it's hard to do that because there are just so many people utilizing the wheelway, which I think is great. So if you want to have an active retirement, Northern Michigan is a great place for you. But look, if you just want to retire and buy a house on the water and sit on the deck and have cocktail hour or wine or coffee or hang out with your friends, whether it's retiring or just living in Northern Michigan, you can be as active or as slow as you want to be. Obviously this is a very active area, but I know some people that just want to sit inside and look at the pretty view out their window and enjoy the mild weather, and that's perfectly fine as well. Another topic that this one sort of surprises me, and something that I've never really considered because I've always lived here. We don't have any pollution. We have very clean air here. And if you're relocating from a major city or, someplace with a bunch of traffic, that's the air quality isn't as high. That is something you're going to appreciate in Northern Michigan, is we have tons of clean air. Obviously the biggest cities here biggest towns here are not very big at all. You can go in the country. So this is a very clean area to live. If you're like me and you have allergies, though, in the spring and fall, the shoulder seasons are a little bit tricky. I love Traverse City and I love the cherry blossoms. I think they're one of the prettiest sights to see. But walking through there, if you have allergies, you're definitely gonna have to deal with that. So if you have allergies, be prepared. There's no shortage of allergens here, but it's just a short period of time, and I promise you'll make it through it. There's tons of wildlife here. If you like to walk around and see deer and see birds and, walk by the lakes and see fish, you're going to love Northern Michigan just because there is no shortage of wildlife. One thing you've got to be careful of, if you're not familiar with deer, they do like to run in front of cars. And that is something, if I were warning somebody about relocating to Northern Michigan, whether it's to retire or for any other reason, Be careful of the deer because they will run in front of your car and it's almost a rite of passage. I've only been driving for 22 years, 23 years, 24 years. And I've hit like 2 or 3 deer in my life. So it just comes with the territory and something to expect. We have a lot of great hospitals here. We use this slide. That's not one of the hospitals here. That's just more of a placeholder. But whether it's McLaren, Munson, we have good hospitals here. That's something that I think really draws retirees to Northern Michigan because later stages in life, you need more healthcare than you do in earlier stages of life. And I think that is one of the reasons that Northern Michigan continues to be a hotspot for people that want to retire. We have Santa Claus here. No, I'm just kidding. This is Northern Michigan, specifically around this time of year I would say from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year, Northern Michigan does a really good job of celebrating the holidays. And it seems like each town has a Santa parade or a tree lighting. Petoskey had theirs a couple of weeks ago. Harbor Springs had it the day after. Boyne Cities is coming up. The holidays in Northern Michigan is a really special time of year. Do you have anything to say about that, Gene?
Yeah, there's a lot of snow, and that makes it a lot better for here. Because you want to get the same feeling like Florida or Texas.
Yeah, so if you're in Florida, Texas, Christmas isn't going to feel the same way it does in Northern Michigan.
Especially if you move from here to Florida.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you and I have spent a lot of time in Florida together.
Yeah.
Do you prefer Northern Michigan or do you wish we'd relocate?
Florida and Northern Michigan are good in different ways and bad in different ways.
Go a little bit deeper.
Florida's a bit more industrial and has a lot more to do, but Michigan has more stuff like nature, so you can do more
outdoor stuff.
What's it called? No. Never mind.
Okay, that's fine.
You can do more like hunting and fishing and
outdoors stuff. Yeah.
Stuff.
What do you prefer, swimming in saltwater or lake water?
I mean, they both have their ups and downs. Saltwater has better fishing, but freshwater is always a lot cooler and a lot safer. But the saltwater has better waves.
That's true. We find better waves to jump into in Florida than we do in Northern Michigan. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. We have great restaurants here. If you're a foodie, you're going to love Northern Michigan. And I'm telling you, each one of these towns, whether it's Petoskey, Harbor Springs, Boyne, Charlevoix, Traverse City, even some of the smaller towns like Eastport, Torch Lake, you'll be driving around and you'll find this restaurant that you've never heard of that is just packed. There's actually a little Italian restaurant between Boyne City and Charlevoix called Bella Vita that looks like it's just an old house. And you wouldn't know this if you drove by, but it's one of the best Italian restaurants you'll ever go to. I know people who say Traverse City has one of the best food scenes in Northern Michigan. Or I'm sorry, not Northern Michigan, in the world, which is saying something. And I say that often. It seems like one thing that I think is really fun is if you live in Petoskey, and we all do this. If you live in Petoskey, taking a road trip to Traverse City to go out to dinner. If you live in Traverse City, vice versa. And, even downtown, even if you said we're going out to dinner, but we can't stay in downtown Petoskey, but we're going to go within a half hour, you've got the Douglas Lake Bar up on Douglas Lake. You've got Michael's in Indian River. You've got Hoppy's over on Burt Lake. Am I missing any?
The Whiskey Inn is really good.
The Whiskey Inn, thanks for reminding me. The Whiskey Inn is a little, I don't want to be disparaging, but it's a little dive bar in front of Boyne Mountain in Boyne Falls. And they have the best wings we've ever had. And our friend Duan, who's in charge of a lot of our media, shout out to Duan, showed us that after we skied one time. And we actually just did a podcast yesterday and somebody brought it up. So the Whiskey Inn, that's a good one. If you're in Northern Michigan and you want a restaurant that's off the beaten path, that's not super fancy, go to the Whiskey Inn and get the wings and the meat platter.
Yeah, they have some of the best smoked meats I've ever had.
Absolutely. So if you're a smoked meat person, that's the place to go. But you can't go wrong. And look, if you're this slide shows wine, if you go up to the Mission Peninsula and Traverse City, that's like wine country. Petoskey, it seems like every year there's a new winery opening up, and Northern Michigan is really becoming a great place for food, wine, even craft beer. There's a lot of craft beer here. There's a lot of local gypsy vodkas here. Northern Michigan has been doing farm to table restaurants since way before it was popular. So that's it's definitely something to consider. So if you like food, you're going to love Northern Michigan. And maybe that's why we all have to be so active, because we all like to eat so much. A lot of people that want to relocate, that want to live, that are picking an area to relocate in, like condos. And Northern Michigan has some of the best condo developments you're going to find. And what I personally like about the condo developments in Northern Michigan are you can either buy, a condo that has very low dues because all they do is, cut the grass and take your garbage out, or you could buy a condo that has a little bit higher dues, that they have a pool and a tennis court, a pickleball court, and they do a bunch of different stuff. Or you can go to one of the luxury communities in Bay Harbor or Charlevoix or Boyne City, where they just have a ton of amenities. The Cliffs at Bay Harbor is one of the more popular kind of condo developments in Northern Michigan. They have their own clubhouse with a hot tub. They've got a maintenance man on site that does a bunch of the maintenance for you. So it's really turnkey. So if you're wanting to simplify and you're wanting carefree living, the condominiums in Northern Michigan are second to none, and we'd love to show you around a little bit. So before we go into the 2025 predictions, do you have any questions? Drop a comment below if you have any questions, or if you are thinking about relocating to Northern Michigan. And if you're not, even if you're like Edward and you're relocating, or you've relocated to somewhere else, what is important to you when relocating? And whether you're watching this live or the replay, drop a comment below. Let us know what is important to you in terms of retiring, because I don't know if this is good news, bad news. I'm a few years away from retirement. Got to wait for Jeannie to get a little bit older so he can take over for me. So I'd like to know what is important to you. So drop a comment below and I will watch it and respond to you. So let's get into the 2025 predictions. And I knew I was going to talk about the predictions tonight, but before this live, I got a call, as I mentioned earlier in the video, or the live about earlier in the stream, from somebody from Bridge, Michigan, which is a very popular website that tracks data of people moving in and out of areas. And he said the statistics, the reason he called me was he said the statistics he's seeing is showing him that it's going to be the amount of people that have moved to the Midwest. The data is showing that it's going to be that people have been coming to the Midwest in droves. And that's really something that we've been talking about a lot. So it's nice to hear. I don't know if it's nice to hear, but it's interesting to hear this from a local scale of what it's like or not what it's like, what's actually happening. And he said, is this true? And I said, look, the reason I do these videos is because there are enough people coming here. And the reason these videos are so successful there's enough people coming here that they want information on this. So it does not surprise me. And maybe myself and my audience, you guys saw this coming ahead of time, but people are relocating to the Midwest. And he's like, I don't have, until the census data comes out, I don't have data that they are all coming to Michigan. And let's face it, they're not all coming to Michigan. But I think personally, and obviously I'm biased because I make these videos, I live in Northern Michigan, I love Northern Michigan. I think a large percentage of the people relocating to the Midwest are coming to Northern Michigan, maybe Michigan in general, because, he was in Toledo and he said, I said, I think they're coming to Northern Michigan. He said, you're probably biased, but, I believe you. And he said, it's not like, unless they have a job, they're not coming to Columbus, Ohio, the same way they're coming to Northern Michigan. And I said, they're not. And he said, what is driving people to Northern Michigan? And we had a good conversation about this. He said, he's got a friend who has a house. And luckily, his friend is wealthy, but he's got a friend that's got a house in Florida, and his homeowner's insurance deductible is $250,000. And which means they're not covering anything until you've spent $250,000. Now that, if you know anything about insurance or deductibles, that is an incredible amount of money. And I told him, I said, you're almost better off not even being insured at that point, because if your deductible is $250 and you're still paying a premium, unless something catastrophic happens, you're not really covered. So a lot of the issues with home insurance and not being able to get home insurance and flood insurance in Florida is making the cost of living in Florida so much higher. We've had both from Texas and Florida people relocate here because it's just getting so hot there. So you mix in the tropical storms, the heat. Northern Michigan is an area. And look, a lot of the, maybe this year it's going to change a little bit, but a lot of the reason people haven't liked Northern Michigan is because the winters have been so harsh, but for the last couple of years, the winters haven't been that bad. Now it looks like this year is going to catch up with us, and maybe we're in for a tough one. But as of now, it's pretty, it's been the winters have been pretty mild the last couple of years. So it'll be incredibly interesting. And I'm going to try to have him on one of these lives when that data is released, because I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see the trends of people moving to Northern Michigan. And I'm really curious, once that starts to hit the news, if it's going to shine an even brighter light on Northern Michigan. I honestly don't know if we can handle much more demand. But it'll be, again, I keep saying it'll be interesting, but I'm super excited for this. And I'm happy that my videos are reaching people that are sort of educating the people who know a lot. And that's one of the things that I love about our community. So let's get into the 2025 real estate market predictions. Are you going to stick around for this segment?
Yeah, I'll stick around for probably the whole thing.
All right. So the median income in Boyne City in 2024 was $378,000, which is up 28% since 2020. Now, what happened in 2020? That was year COVID sort of tipped Northern Michigan on its head. And Boyne City, great community, great restaurants, great shops. I think, Boyne City, a lot of these towns were not what they were back when I was a kid, or back when I was his age. And the people in charge of Boyne City have done a great job. It's a great community built around the water. They've got a great marina. They built a lot of new developments, great restaurants. Again, like you can tell we like food. And for $378,000, again, that's not incredibly affordable, but compared to other areas in Northern Michigan, you still get a lot of bang for your buck in Boyne City. So if you're considering relocating to Northern Michigan and you like the water, you like quaint downtowns, consider Boyne City. They also have great schools. Candace, my assistant, lives in Boyne City. She loves it. She does a lot with the volleyball program there. So I've experienced, I've been in their school. They've got great, they've got a great theater inside of it. And their schools always rank highly. Their football team went really far into the playoffs this year. So I'm a big fan of Boyne City. It's been a solid community, up and coming, and definitely someplace you should consider. Traverse City, let me move this banner down. Traverse City, the median income in Traverse City was $450,000 this year. Now, obviously, we talk a lot about what's going on in Traverse City. We've done a few videos there lately. Traverse City is booming, and it's becoming a tech hub. A lot of people are retiring there, relocating there. There's a lot of businesses opening. There's an incredible amount of developments. One thing I always tell people when they're debating about where to live in Northern Michigan is, if you're leaving the big city and you're not quite ready to jump into a rural community and you still want a lot of the conveniences and a lot of the energy and a lot of the activity of living in Northern Michigan, then you're going to love Traverse City, because when I'm there, Traverse City, every time, it seems like every summer feels busier and busier. There's always a ton going on there. There's the Cherry Festival, which brings 500,000 people there. And they brought it seems like every year they've got some big name, whether it's Nelly or Jordan Davis or Weird Al this year. They've always got somebody popular playing. So Traverse City is, again, a great spot if you're not quite ready to jump into the ruralness. Is ruralness a word? The ruralness of Northern Michigan, and you want a few more of the conveniences and the energy. Traverse City is a spot for you. Again, great restaurants, because I wouldn't be myself if I didn't talk about food. They've got the wine country on the Old Mission Peninsula. And Traverse City is massive. And there are a bunch of different, there's the north side. I've got a really good friend of mine that lives on the north side. I know some people that live on the peninsula. I know some people that live up M22, up towards Leland. I know some people that live south of town, Chum's Corners. And I've said this in videos before. One thing that I really like about Traverse City that I wish Petoskey had more of is, if you go 10, 15 minutes outside of Traverse City to, Grawn or Kingsley or, a little further Buckley or Fife Lake, you can find affordable houses that are still a stone's throw from everything Traverse City has to offer, meaning you can work in downtown Traverse City and live in Grawn and just make the short drive every day, or, live a little bit further north, or live in Williamsburg, and still have all the amenities that Traverse City has to offer without a $450,000 price tag. So another town I'll be interested to see with so much supply coming on the market, will that sort of damper the demand? And going forward, is that going to cause prices to go down, or is it going to make more people come to Northern Michigan? So that will be interesting to see. Harbor Springs, another one of my personal favorites, just across the bay from where we're talking to you from right now. The median sale in 2020 was $500,000. If you know anything about Harbor Springs, you know that Harbor Springs has always been a very high-end resort community. In fact, when I was a kid, my dad and my grandfather owned a construction company, and they did the water service in Harbor Springs. And I was probably 9, 10, and I used to go to work 9, 10 years old, and I used to go to work with them. And, I grew up in Indian River, so I wasn't used to seeing, especially back then, these massive houses and massive wealth. And I thought, wow, these are the richest people in the world, coming from a 9 or 10-year-old's perspective. And then I grew up and found out they actually were the richest people in the world. There are some captains of industry, some celebrities. There are some people that with recognizable names that live in Harbor Springs, and with, the internet becoming more readily available and people being able to work from home, Harbor Springs has had Harbor Springs is a really interesting case study because it's always been one of the most premier summer spots, resort spots in the Midwest, maybe even in I would say maybe even in the country, because there's a lot of people from St. Louis, California, Texas, who have always come to Harbor Springs. In fact, they've got a small private airport there that when you go by on July 4th, they're little private planes or bigger private planes parked everywhere. So people are flying into Harbor Springs. So there's that mixed with the ski hills. And during COVID, or prior to COVID, or right around the time COVID hit, there was a lot of people bought these houses and turned them into short-term rentals. We're not seeing that a lot now because the market has sort of caught up with themselves, but we've seen, houses that were listed at $350 sell for $450 because people are able to rent them out for $800 or $900 a night just about year round. Of course, Petoskey, which is where I'm talking to you tonight from, downtown Petoskey. Actually, if you could see this, my office is just, if you see the steeple, that's St. Francis Church. That's where my office is, right by the steeple. Median sale price $418,000, which is up 40% since 2020, which is an incredible jump. It seems like Petoskey, my prediction is, I don't think prices are certainly not going to falter here. They're not going to go down. It seems like they've sort of hit the ceiling. There's been a lot of nice houses, especially in the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 months, that a year or two ago would have sold quickly and now have sort of lagged on the market. So there seems to be some some pushback from the buyers with, the prices going up so much, interest rates going up so much. And it doesn't quite have the retirement community. I mean, there's a lot of people retiring to Petoskey, but not nearly as much as Harbor Springs. And something else to consider is when you're talking about the median price, this is not including Bay Harbor. And I think if you added Bay Harbor into this, the median price would be a lot higher. And Bay Harbor is sort of its own community, but it is within Petoskey. It's in Resort Township. They pay property tax in Petoskey. So if you factor that in, I think this number would go up and probably be a little bit closer to what Harbor Springs is. Remote work migration is up 38% since last year, meaning the number of people that are coming here to work from home is up almost 40% compared to what it was the year before. I think that is something that you're going to see continue to grow and also drive the market. I'm really curious. A lot of companies are laying off, and maybe that will cause a pushback. I'm really interested to see how that goes with, some companies trimming their workforce a little bit. Is that going to affect the amount of remote workers? I don't know. I'm just talking a lot of something I'm keeping an eye on. Low inventory, any place on this map, which is a pretty good general area of what we cover. There's still incredibly low inventory. It's actually a little bit of a gridlock. A couple of years ago, we had gridlock where, a bunch of people wanted to buy, but there wasn't enough sellers. And now it's almost a gridlock the other way, where there's more people. There's people that want to buy and there's people that want to sell, but there's not enough inventory for them. And then also with interest rates, the cost of purchasing is a lot higher than it was. And that's sort of created a little bit of an issue. Interest rates, I do think I've got a really good friend, Ian Ashton from One Trust Home Loans. He's been our preferred lender for a lot of years. I talk to him at least once a day, usually 5 times a day. And we've been watching these interest rates like a hawk because I think we're going to be a little bit stagnant. The market's going to be a little bit stagnant until those start to come down a little bit. They're hovering between 6.5 and 7. It seems like they bounce back and forth almost on a daily basis. And once we're predicting that we're going to see the third and fourth quarter of 2025. I think we're going to see those rates drop below 6%. And I believe that's going to be a shot in the arm for the market. So watch those interest rates, because that is the number one thing affecting the market in Northern Michigan right now. When you're talking about entry-level homes being $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, if you factor that in with a 7% interest rate, that is an extremely high mortgage rate, unless you're paying cash, which a lot of people do, or, you're putting a lot of money down, that's a tough pill to swallow. Michelle Smart says, hi, Gino. Which one of us do you think she's talking to? Both?
I don't know, probably.
Say hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
So thank you for tuning in, Michelle. It's good to hear from you. So interest rates are the number one thing I'm watching personally. Again, that's what caused the feeding frenzy to begin with, when they were below 3%, and everybody gobbled up these properties and prices skyrocketed. So I'm curious if the rates being higher is going to cause some of these properties to drop a little bit lower. Short-term rentals, that market also, if you're paying attention, we own a short-term rental management company. I know it's a really controversial topic, so we typically don't bring it up. I have mixed feelings about it myself. I think it's good in some areas, not good in other areas. I do think it is helping some of the more rural areas. Also, people are a lot busier than they once were, and if renting out their house allows them to afford a house, then I think that's okay. I do see the other side, where you buy a house in Northern Michigan to relax, and there's a party next to you every weekend. So we can talk about that in a different way, but that market has seemed to find its equilibrium. If you look at coastal, Mountain Lake, this is across the country, so mid-sized cities, the growth is definitely slowing. You look at 2020, it was -7, it was negative across the board, and then you can almost see, if you go across, Michelle said she just joined the live and didn't know there are two Ginos. Michelle, since you just joined, go back and watch the replay from the beginning after. I've always wanted to bring my son, who's also named Gino. He's actually the fifth, to give a kid's perspective of what it's like to live in Northern Michigan, because we have a lot of people that are thinking about relocating here. And I just thought it'd be a fun thing to do. They had a snow day today, and we're hoping he has a snow day tomorrow. So, thanks again for joining. So go back to this. You can almost watch it climb. We're in 2022. That was right as the feeding frenzy from COVID. Double-digit percentage. Some of the places 33%, but then you can almost see it taper off, and the growth. You can see that growth coming back down that's an indicator that it has found its equilibrium. So it'll be interesting. But when interest rates go down, I think you're going to see people buying short-term rentals again to rent out, because look, at the end of the day, when you're buying a short-term rental, specifically if you're financing it, Candace is watching. Candace is the brains behind our operation. I love how fancy he is with his pinky up while he's drinking. They teach him that in private school, right? Isn't that in kindergarten? They teach you how to drink with your pinky up.
I taught myself.
So, thanks for watching, Candace. Maybe one day I'm gonna at Candace. She's been married for a long time now, and her last name is actually Graham, so she should probably change that. Candace also is in charge of our short-term rental company, so maybe I'll have her on to talk a little bit more about this if there's some interest. What I was saying was, interest rates are really what fuel short-term rentals, because at the end of the day, you're just trying to do an arbitrage between the amount of money it costs you every month and what you can rent it for, and that's certainly a lot easier to do when you're not paying 7% interest, and it's not even 7%, because on a second home, it's going to be, at least 1% or more higher than, a primary residence. Again, occupancy is probably going to go back to where it was pre-COVID, with the additional supply, the economy not doing as well as it was a couple of years ago. I do think we're going to see the occupancy fall. And also, there's not as many short-term rentals. There were a lot of people. Last spring was the first time period that I started noticing houses that you could tell had one time had been short-term rentals come back on the market. There's telltale signs when you're showing a house. This is something I should talk about on the live, or if they have like a bunch of board games, or their Wi-Fi password is clipped to the wall someplace, or they've just turned every spare inch of room into sleeping area. Those are the things we look for, that we can tell that a house was one time a short-term rental. So what am I supposed to do? Going into 2025, what is I'm going into 2025. I want to buy a house in Northern Michigan or really anywhere, because this is advice this is advice that goes across the board. Get pre-approved now. Whether there's a lot of debate. I actually heard for the longest time, I used to always tell people that the first stop should be to get pre-approved, even before you talk to me or another real estate agent. And I was talking to another agent friend of mine, and Michelle's got a question that I want to answer before. Don't know if you talked about this already, but do you think, along with an interest rate drop, there'll be lower housing prices too? Michelle, I don't think typically interest rates dropping don't cause prices to go down, because at the end of the day, somebody's not necessarily buying a house for the price of the house. They're buying it for the price of the mortgage payment. So if they're able to get a lower payment, so the math says, the equation is, if the interest rate goes down, if you have a $2,500 a month payment that you're trying to stick to, and the interest rate goes down, that allows you to buy a more expensive house, which should cause houses to go up. I do think one of my 2025 predictions that I'm pretty confident in, that we're going to watch, and I'll be here every Thursday, so you guys can hold me accountable. I do think we're going to see some prices going down. Specifically, I'm seeing this in the trenches every day, where the last handful of deals we've got done for people, for our buyers, were much, much, much lower than list price. And we're talking about houses in Petoskey, in Traverse City, in the prime areas. So I think we're going to see prices come down. I think they're going to come down until interest rates start to come down with them. Then I think you're going to see them spike up again. So get pre-approved now. It's almost like the chicken or the egg. Do I talk to a realtor first, or do I get pre-approved first? And forever, I thought it was fine to get pre-approved first, but somebody actually changed my mind about that. And they said that you should talk to a realtor first, so they make sure they connect you with 1, 2, or 3 good local lenders. And I don't think that's a bad idea. If you go on the internet to get pre-approved, God only knows who you're going to connect it with, because there is, getting people to get pre-approved for a mortgage is a very competitive industry. And I know people who will put their information on some of those forms online and almost have to turn their phone off because so many people call. So if you're thinking about buying a home, contact, a local realtor that you trust, that's well-reviewed online, maybe that has a YouTube channel, and ask them who they would recommend, and get a couple names. Ian at One Trust is our guy, but we've got others. He's not the only one that's good. He's just the one we use the most. Another good idea is target emerging areas. We talked about Boyne City, specifically in Northern Michigan. If the world is your oyster and you're not set on a specific area, there are some places here, Indian River, Sheboygan, Bel Air, Central Lakes, some of the places that are a little bit Ellsworth, that are a little bit further out, that actually have great quality of life. Great, you can still buy an affordable house. You're just going to maybe have to drive. We just had a past client on the podcast yesterday who bought a house in East Jordan. She said, you just sort of get used to driving 25 minutes every place you go. And that's sort of the trade-off from getting to live in the country. So definitely something to consider. I talk about this all the time, specifically this time of year. Look for winter listings. If you want to buy a house right now, buy a house right now, because the winter is when you're going to get the best prices on a house. The sellers are the more motivated. The only sellers that are on the market, the only listings we have personally that are on the market right now are people that want to sell tomorrow. And if the only people that are looking for homes or going out to view homes in the weather we have right now are people that want to buy a house. So there's a lot less competition. Also, you can see a lot of different things in the winter. You can see, is the house insulated well? Does it feel cold inside? Can you feel the wind blow through the windows? There's some things that you can certainly see. Explore off-market opportunities. We have a program, not to push us, but we have a program that if you come to us and you're working with us and you find an area that you say, Gino, I want to be in, we've done this in Bay Harbor, the Charlotte Country Club. We've done this in downtown Petoskey. If you can dial in a finite area, better chance than not, we can find you a house that maybe the whole world doesn't know about, because there are a lot of sellers out there that would sell. They just don't want to go through the hassle of putting their house on the market, having to do showings, having the neighbors know that they're selling their house. So there's definitely opportunities there. What is happening in Northern Michigan this month? As I told you before, December is one of the most underrated months in Northern Michigan. Petoskey's holiday parade is coming up in 2 days. I think they're still going to have that. We're getting a lot of weather. The parade's going to be a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Castle Farms has their winter gala. It's a great time to eat, drink, and be merry. They've got dinner, cocktails, holiday music. If you've never been to the castle in Charlevoix, it is actually a castle. They have a ton of typically weddings there, but they've got a lot of other events. They used to have big name concerts. They've got a lot of the poster stuff on the wall. I mean, they used to have Reba McEntire, Garth Brooks, some of them, REO Speedwagon, some of the biggest names you've ever heard of. Winter Solstice Lantern Lit Hike in Traverse City, December 15th. I've never been to that, but it sounds like a fun time. And anytime you can be outside and hike with a lantern is a good day. A lot of areas do trivia. This is something a lot of the local bars do. It's a growing trend in Northern Michigan is they have trivia where you go in, you make a team, pick a team name, and you compete against other teams. You have something you want to say about trivia?
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
What's the best trivia we've ever been to? Have we only been to one?
I mean, if we count those ones with the car.
Oh, so we go to trivia. We've been to trivia a couple times at the quarter deck at the Bay Harbor Yacht Club. One of our favorite things to do, I talk about road trips in Northern Michigan because, when you're in Northern Michigan, if you're going to Detroit, it's a road trip. Grand Rapids is a road trip. Gene just brought up what we like to do is we play trivia games in the car on YouTube, and it's a good way to pass the time on those long road trips if you live in Northern Michigan. Who usually wins?
Me and you.
All right. So usually it's split 50-50. Must be the name.
I mean, yeah.
Skiing. We can't wait to get out. Are you ready to go skiing this year?
Oh, yeah.
One thing, if you're moving to Northern Michigan and you're moving with kids or even yourself, and one thing I think Northern Michigan does a great job is preparing kids to ski just for a couple of minutes. You went through the Boyne Highlands Mountain Master Program.
Yeah.
What did you think about that? How old were you when you started? Do you remember?
Probably, I think it was when I just turned 3.
So you're 3 and you're 11 now. So you've been skiing for 8 years.
This is my 8th year.
Your 8th year. Are you a good skier?
Yeah, I'd say I'm above average.
So above average, Mountain Masters is a really good. It's a really good deal. It's a group class every Friday it's Friday night or Sunday morning. We always did Sunday morning. One thing that I love about it is you can take the kids, drop them off at the class, and you can go ski yourself. And it's a really affordable way to get your kids into skiing. They get skis every year. They trade up. He started when he was 3. It stopped. Last year was the first year that he had to buy actual skis. And Boyne actually gives you the money you pay towards the program as a credit to buy your new skis. So obviously, as you know, new skis are expensive, and it was nice to save a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, we're coming up on 50 minutes, so we like to keep these between 50 minutes and an hour. What questions do you have either about the market, retiring here, anything that has to do with Northern Michigan, from a kid's perspective, from my perspective? I'll give you a couple minutes to ask some questions before we hop off here. But, I keep talking about it. I'm waiting for the questions to come in. It was really interesting. I'm still trying to process the information or what the census is going to tell us about people relocating to Northern Michigan. This is a great question. Question for Gino number 2. Michelle, he's actually Gino number 5. He can be Gino number 2 tonight, though. So Gino number 2, are the kids nice in Northern Michigan?
Most of them.
Is that across the board or just at your school?
Across the board. One of my friends is actually quite devious.
What does that mean? Let me ask you this. This is a better question. When you have a new kid in your class, I want you to answer this from a kid's perspective. When you have a new kid in your class, do you guys accept them? Is it easy for them to make friends? Because you've had, the school you go to, you guys have all been together for a long time.
Yeah, some depends. Really depends if they're really quiet.
So if they're outgoing and they want to make friends.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, Michelle, I hope that answers your question. I think the kids are nice in Northern Michigan. I'm a huge fan. The reason we used to live in a little town east of here, and the reason we moved to Petoskey was for the schools. And I'm pretty involved with schools. I do.
Oh, yeah,
in the wintertime at Jeannie's school, the parents are required to do some volunteer hours. So in the slow season, I do recess on Thursdays, which I got off today because of the snow day. I think the kids are great. I think they're polite. I think they're well behaved. I'm sure maybe they're not all the best in the world, but I see a lot of I think a lot of kids are. I want to hear Jeannie's opinion on the best ice cream in Northern Michigan.
That might either be Dairy Queen or the Dairy Mart.
Which one do you like better?
I mean, Dairy Mart is just kind of a tradition now.
Yeah. What's your favorite kind of ice cream?
Probably salted caramel.
Okay, salted caramel. If you've never been, I don't know. Is salted caramel a Northern Michigan thing?
No.
I think it might be. It might be a Kilwins thing, and Kilwins is Northern Michigan. It's really funny. We went to Kilwins. I don't know if you know this now, but if you ever heard of Kilwins, its headquarters is in Petoskey, right here. And we were in Clearwater Beach for spring break one year, and we asked where we should get ice cream, and they told us Kilwins, and we said, that's not going to work because that's where we're from. So shout out to Kilwins. They have great salted caramel ice cream. So ice cream is definitely a huge part of summers in Northern Michigan, and believe it or not, I might like it more than you do.
Yeah, I remember that one time when we were obsessed with ice cream.
Yeah, that's a Florida thing. So my sister said they have salted caramel in Wyoming, so I guess it's not just a Michigan thing. I was hoping it was a Michigan thing, but I guess not.
She actually told me that they don't have Superman ice cream there.
Oh, so Superman. So I guess Superman's a Northern Michigan thing.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
No, but to get back, I could talk about food all day, but to get back, again, just to finish about the census, I'm really, really curious what that information is going to say. And so Virginia number 4, are adults accepting of Michiganders moving from downstate? Yes, Michelle, they are. A lot of my best friends in Northern Michigan are from downstate. I lived downstate when I went to college. I love downstate. I actually have a lot of friends that are downstate. So when you're up here in the summertime, you're going to meet people that are from downstate. So Michelle, remind me, I think I know this, but what part of downstate are you from? I'm just genuinely curious. No, they're accepting of everybody. They're accepting from people downstate. They're accepting from people from different states. They're accepting people from different countries, certainly different races. That is definitely something that you don't have to worry about here. We'll accept you. And if you have a hard time making friends, we'll help you find friends. So don't worry about that. Northern Michigan is really a welcoming place. And I think that's what makes it, even going back to talking about retirees. One thing that I would say, if you're thinking about retiring in Northern Michigan, I would consider doing so, just because there's already the community here. There's already a bunch of people just like you who have chosen Northern Michigan, who, likely do the same things you like to do. They want to play pickleball. They want to go to the beach. They want to drive their boat. They want to play golf. They want to drink wine at Pour. They want to go to Chandler's. Some of my personal best friends are retirees in Northern Michigan. I used to go, if you followed me for any length of time, you know that Vintage is one of my favorite restaurants. And I used to go sit at the bar there by myself and eat dinner and just talk to interesting people. And a lot of them are retirees, and a lot of them became, some of my best friends. So it definitely a welcoming area. Northern Michigan, I know, I understand the concern, because I've been to other areas that you're sort of just a nameless person. But no, I know a lot of people who have come here and relocated to Northern Michigan, whether retiring or not retiring, and have just become part of the community. So give it a couple more minutes for questions to come in. I do these every Thursday, rain or shine or snow day. Maybe if there's the demand, I'll have Gino come back on once in a while. Southeast lower, about 40 minutes north of each side. Yeah, Michelle, I know where you're at. You're going to be fine. You're going to love it here. So if you're thinking about relocating, obviously reach out to me directly, and I'd love to help you. If at any time you want to hop on the phone with me or talk via email, there's a link in the description. You can schedule to get on my calendar at your convenience, or call me directly at 231-487-6141. I'll pop that up on the banner so you have my number. You're going to put my email address up there. So yeah, you can email me anytime. Gino D'Angelo. I respond to all the emails directly myself. I'd love to talk to you. And let me know. We're going to keep doing these. If there's anything else I can ever help you with, let me know. Again, if you're watching this live, if you're watching this to replay, I really appreciate your time. It was fun having my son on tonight. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but he did a great job. So everybody give my son a round of applause in the comments. If you watch this and you saw Jeannie, give me a rating of how he did, and be kind. He's got thick skin, but he's still a kid. So be nice. And we'll keep doing these. Again, thank you for watching. Please share this with anybody you know who might be interested. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. It means a lot to us. It helps me make these videos better and better. We've quadrupled our subscribers just this year, and I look forward to doing so next year. allowing us to keep making great videos for you. So without further ado, have a good night. Go Lions.